This breed is called European Shorthair. Okay, so it originates from Sweden. It's given such name because it's kind of a domestic cat. I love cats so much. I love cats so much, and my dad used to say, know something about everything and then pick one thing and know everything about it. So now let's go to that one thing. Today we'll be learning how to make negative space designs. Okay, negative space logos are kind of logos that have some sort of element popping out from them, like a kind of negative space. Like the name implies, it simply means a space that is utilized, okay, which making it easy for people to understand the aspect of it that is cropped out and take meaning into that. For instance, we have Apple logo, and we have a couple more that I've made in the past for some kind of brands or clients I had in the past. So I have a lot of this. You can check them out on my page, and I love negative space so much because they are rare and not easy to come up with ideas like this, especially when it's dealing with real logo. When you go online, you're going to find lots and lots more negative space, but not just 80% of them are not talking about the idea. Okay, they're not talking about the idea. What I mean by that is this: these are not in real term brand logos. Okay, so it's very difficult for you to find a brand logo having a negative space like consistently. So we have FedEx over here. FedEx is a negative space. The arrow here is a symbol of forward, and we all know that. We have Apple also, and we have some other brands here which are real, as you can see from here, USA. The S is a kind of negative from this part striking out. The flight finder, this is also a negative space. But when you come to designs like this, logo like this are not, they are negative spaces. Like you can see a horse over here, and you can see a bear over here, and this is a bird. Now these are negative space, but these are not in real context. Like these are not real brands. So it's very difficult to find most designs online that are negative space that are, you know, that are truly brand designs. Okay, so now with that being understood, what we are learning is not how to make random negative space designs. Okay, that's not the idea for today's practice or this week's practice. So bear that in mind before you continue this, so your mind will be wrapped around generating ideas that will work for real clients. I think the color of this is reduced, opacity is reduced. I knew that. Fine. So this also. So this week we will be working on negative space. Now back to the explanation. Okay, negative space, to call a brand logo a negative space type is the kind of brand logo that have an element, either the initial of the name or the icon of the brand striking out of the main icon. Okay, so now for instance, we have this media. This is for Mad Mix. This is for Apple Fix Market. This is for Unique Clothing. It's for a baby clothing brand. This is Flash Market. This is Dr. Legend Clothing, and this is Zberry. This is not a negative space. This is a context where I will show you guys the difference between a negative space and an empty space. This is an empty space logo. It's not a negative space logo. So now let me explain with that. A negative logo must have its primary element, which is the initial, strike out from the secondary element. The secondary element is actually the icon guiding it. It could be a circle, it could be, like for instance, as we have here, it could be a cat, it could be anything, it could be a cloth, but the main element, which is the name initial or the icon, must strike out from that element. That is a negative space. Now, this context, we have the name initial inside, but there is a space here, but it's not negative. This is an empty space. An empty space creating that reflection so that whenever this logo is moved to a white background, the Z will still stand as white. Whenever you move to a yellow background, the Z will still stand as yellow. When it moves to a black background, the Z stands as black, and that is an empty space, not a negative space. The same is applicable to a negative space. When you move it, you will still see the reflection from the color it is representing, as you can see from here. Okay, so that is what a negative space is. The icon initial will have to be, we have to strike out from the main. Anyway, you have to do that. Okay, you have to do it. I will make corrections to that. You guys are very creative. The works you've made in previous challenges or previous lab test, you guys are doing wonderfully well. So now we are going to explain these stuffs one after the other, so you understand it better than I am just explaining. This is not something I am very good at. I'm not very good at negative space logo. As you can see, the ones I've made here, I'm not very good at that. I am more good at minimalistic logo mascots and stuffs like that, abstract logos. But negative space logos are kind of problematic in most cases. Now, you don't make all your brand, not after this tutorial, you start making all feature brand negative space. No. Negative space come in line when a brand wants an icon and also they want their initial on it. Or they want more than one icon, which you can place side by side, but have to place them over the other. Now, this is when we talk about Z-index. I'm going to teach you guys about Z-index in design. Z-index is simply the element that is above the other, not actually on layer pattern. Okay, not actually on layer patterns. For instance, now we can talk about layer here. We say, okay, this element itself is above this other element. Okay, so that is the layer, and that's also Z-index, but not in all ways. For instance, this element here that we can't see, we can't touch, we can't drag around, which is creating this negative space, okay, have to be a Z-index before we operate that. Because if this element is beneath, we can't separate that, or we can't separate this shape to get exactly what we are looking at. We're going to talk about Z-index in the later part of our tutorial in the future. I'm going to teach you guys about that and how to utilize that perfectly. So now, this first one is Mad Mix. As you can see, we striked out the M, the part of the M, which was striked out from this edge of the media and then, you know, guided by this. Now, for the fact that it's guided by this doesn't mean that it is no more a Z-index. The main icon is the one inside of it. Now, the strike out that doesn't have any cover up is what makes it a Z-index. The same applies to this. As you can see, striking out from these parts as the logo, Apple logo is, and cat icons are being placed inside of it. Now, if you place this cat icon inside of this Apple logo without striking this or making it a Z-index, it makes a caricature of the design. It makes it look immature. It makes it not to be scalable, because when you reduce that size, you see that the icon inside will look a little bit confusing to viewers. So the same applies to this, same applies to this, same applies to this, same applies to this. In most cases, in best practice, negative space goes with minimalistic kind of concept in logo design, which means you don't practically have to give it multiple colors here and there unless you know how to play around with your colors. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I want you guys to go simple. I want us to go simple with flat colors. Okay, if you can apply one or two colors, that's okay. But if I see it is not necessary, I will ask you to choose just a single color. We can grow from one to the next, and so on and so forth. So now, that is it for this. I will want to do something after now, but let's continue. So now I'm going to give you a little example about what we just talked about. Now I'm going to give you an example of what we talked about. Let me just show you the context where this plays the role. So for instance, this is the elements. The pocket over here is what is in the head of the man. His name is Dr. Legend, and the spade is what all these explanations are. Well, you can go to my Instagram account and read about this, and what he explained about this, and I have to put them into practice. Okay, now the main logo icon, this is what it looks like, okay, with the name Dr. Legend beneath it. And the second is the unique clothing line. As you can see how it looks on a white background, and also on black background, it matches perfectly well. So that is it for those. We will come back to to that in a little while. So let's get back to work. I don't know why this are opening up. Okay, fine. Let's get back to work now. So now we are going to create a kind of logo to show you an instance. Then I'm going to create another one, which will be for a brand. I'm going to create a non-realistic or non-brand logo that is not close to what we are looking at. Then I'm going to create a real logo with that. So now the first, we are going to write an N. I'm going to create a brand for the country Nigeria. Don't know if that's my country. I don't know. So we are going to use a small letter for this. Okay. Now what we're going to do is to make this text easy for us to break. We want to cover all these parts. So we want to use this text, but before we do that, what you used to do is you hold Ctrl Shift and click on O towards outline or to convert this text to a shape. So you can now click on the curvature tool and select on this part, delete, select on all anchor points and delete them. We will have these straight lines. You can delete these two if you want to create a perfect line. So this part, I don't think this is very straight. You can straighten that a little, and that is okay. Whatever you think you can do to make things look nice. We don't have to waste a lot of time on that. Fine. So we've gotten the basics of what we are looking at. Now let's get to the other part. We can shrink this a little down. Fine. Let's work on this edge. It's not very smooth, just a little. Fine. So cool. So now to create a negative space, we need to pull in something that, you know, let's go in and download I'm just trying to show you guys an instance of exactly what we are looking at. So this icon we just download, this is not an icon, this is an image, but we are going to convert it to an icon. So dragging the image into Illustrator. So watch how I convert this to an icon which is scalable. So reduce it to whatever size. Remember what I taught you guys about the properties panel and image trace. Okay, you can either go to Windows and find your image trace element over here. Go to Windows, you will see the image trace here. If you already have the properties panel, just hit on the properties panel, scroll down, you see the image trace, click on image trace and click on 3 colors, and that's all you need to do, and it will prepare the work for you. It will convert it automatically to icon. That's not all you need to do. As soon as it's done converting this to an icon, what next you need to do is to hit on expand, still under the properties panel, hit on expand, and it have expanded this element to become a shape. Now next, click on ungroup. Now why we ungroup is so that we can select these elements one after the other, separate them. We can select on this and delete, and we have just the icon. So to see that this is scalable element, you can hold on your curvature tool. You can see all edges can now be resized or reshaped the way you want them to be. So now next we can do, if you place this above this, one secret about negative space design is this: you don't use a negative space color on the same color of the element you want to use it on. So you must choose the same color of the background to see the beauty or how the negative space will look on other platforms of color. So now we select on this, we must choose the same color as the background. Now for instance, we place this negative space element here, and we are going to come to this. Now we are going to make this color, since we are working on a black background, we're going to make the base background white, then the main icon can remain black. This is the negative space here, but in this case we are going to make this one white and the main color remain black. So which means any place you places this on, you have to convert the background color. If it's going on a dark background, you have to convert the background color to a black. Then if it's going on a light background, if it's going on a dark background, you convert the background base color to white, and it's going on a white background, you convert the base color to black. Remember, this is basic tutorial. Okay, this is basic tutorial for beginners. You have to just follow these steps and you won't have any issues. So now since we have created this, let's delete this and continue with what we have here. Since we have created this, not enough. This is not enough. Why it is not enough is when we push it to a secondary color, you see that we still have the white there. We still need to go here and change the color to yellow before it will match here. Now, what if we pull it back to this white background? We still have the same issue. How do we solve this problem? By outlining or removing this particular color on this background or base background element. So now, how we do that? We select the boats, head over till you see the shape builder tool. Click on the shape builder tool and hold your Alt key, Alt key, and drag along the place you want to remove. Remember, where you want to remove is the parts which you placed on the main logo. You wouldn't want to remove the base logo. Don't do that. Okay, what we want to do is to remove this. So hold your Alt key and drag along until you remove these parts. Perfect. So now we've done that. You can now drag this into a white background. It works. And you drag it on a black background. All you need to do is to change the general color and it works for you. I hope you get that now. So that's how to create, that's the basic of a negative shape design or negative logo. So now let's head in and create one design. Let's delete this because it is a nonsense logo. So let's delete this and let's create one more design. Now let's draw a shape here. We are going to get a shape of D. Let me see if I'm running out of time. I want this to be less than 20 or 25 minutes. So let's create a perfect shape here. Next, we have to select on this anchor point, hold the shift key and select on the second anchor point. We want to make it curved like so. So we created a D. This is just the D shape we want. We can reduce the width if we want to. We can still leave it as it is if we want to. So fine. So now the edges here, I would like them to be a little bit curved, just a little, and that's fine for me. Now we are going to draw another shape, which is just like this. I think this is okay. Okay, fine. So now we are going to curve the two edges, and that is okay for me. We are going to rotate this like 90 degrees, and this is fine. Change the color to white so we see what we are doing, and place it above the D. So fine, we got what we were looking for. Let's drag this down a little. No, not like this. Let's drag it down by holding the shift key. That should solve the problem. Fine. Okay. Let's I think that is okay. We are having issues resizing this accordingly. Let's draw a next shape and resize that according to what we want. Let me see what the problem is. Okay, so we don't have any problem over here. So let's delete this. Why it happened was because we reshaped it before moving it, rotating it, and it gave the problem. So we rotate now. Let's see. Rotate like 90 degrees. That's too much. Let's rotate it like so. Let's increase and decrease. Fine, we have what we are looking for. So we can reduce and increase by holding the shift key. You can increase this and reduce it accordingly. So now next thing we have to do is to round the edges like we did in the previous one and place it accordingly. Let's see if we can reduce again. You see, we can reduce again because we have rounded that edges. Let's remove the edges we rounded and see if we can reduce again. Fine, we can reduce again. So I just don't know why that happened. Probably because we rotated this and we curved the edges. Okay, it can't resize appropriately again. So when you want to resize again, you can expand it and resize. I don't know why, whether that's a bug or what. So and we curve this edge and we reduce it down a little. We would want to put a dot above here. Okay, so we draw another, probably let's draw a perfect circle here, just a perfect circle like so, and we pull that circle up above here. Fine. And let's increase this a little more. Okay, so it will be practically equal to the size we have in this other one. So bring it down a little. We don't want it touching to the edge. So now we have this. This is not exactly what we are looking at, but this is good for the stats. Okay, this brand could be named whatever, Distinct One, Ding Tone, whatever you want to call it, as long as it starts with a D. Okay, so now what we want to do, or what we want to do, is to select everything like we did in the previous one. Still head over to the shape builder tool, select on the shape builder tool and hold the alt key, delete this one and delete this one, and also delete this one. When holding the alt key, you see the mouse. Let me zoom, let me go back so you see exactly what. Let's explain what happened there. When you hold the alt key, without the alt key, you are telling this to add to this. Okay, when it adds to this, what happens is that you can separate this and we still have a different shape from here. That's not what we want. Okay, that's not what we want. Let me show you what we want. So when we select everything and we select on the shape divider tool or shape builder tool, when we hold the alt key, monitor, let me zoom closely so you see exactly what's happening in the mouse key. Monitor how the cursor changes to a minus sign. Okay, this means it is removing, not adding. It is removing, not adding. When we release the alt key, it changes to a plus sign, which means we are adding, not removing. Now, for instance, we held the alt key and we remove all this part and we remove all this part. When we still leave the alt key and click the plus here, we are adding. That is simply what that means. We are adding to this shape, which means we have created another shape here. Let me show you what that means. Let's zoom out. Now let's zoom out. Now we have this shape, no shape in the middle here. There's no shape. We can't drag anything out from here because we have removed it. Now, when we select on that element, which is the shape builder tool, and we add to this, before you add to an element, you must first of all select all the elements. Okay, select the shape builder tool from here and click on add. You see, it have automatically added with the color we have. We can separate it from here, we can still leave it, and that is just it. Okay, shape builder tool, when you hold the alt key, it removes. When you release the alt key, it adds to that particular shape you are removing. Now take note, you can't add to shapes like this. Negative space, you can't add to them. For instance, we select the shape builder tool and say we want to add here. You can't add anything here because negative space doesn't have an edge that covers it. There is nothing covering this part, so this place is empty. It's a negative space. A negative space doesn't have any authority to create whatsoever or to add whatsoever unless an element is placed above it again. I hope you get that. So now we created our negative space logo. Let's try to tweak this a little more. So select on the whole element, hold on your direct selection tool, and we hold on this anchor point and we hold the shift key and click on this second anchor point. Now we can drag and reduce and add. Let's just reduce it a little more, like so. And I think this is okay. Let's select only this one and increase it. Fine. So this is the brand or the logo we are working on, or we just worked on. As you can see, this sign inside could be a human trying to run a race. Distinct one could be a brand competing with Nike or whatever. This could be a human trying to run a race. If you want to make that more distinct, you can raise the arms a little more so it would be like sorry about that, someone trying to run a race, whatever that could be. I don't know. So that is it. You can further add a color here if you want to. Now look at what I want you to do and how I want you guys to present your brand, your negative space logo. You place the main one at the edge here. You can make this a white color or whatever color you want to make it to be. I think this will work more on a black color, and then you will add the elements which you use in creating this over here. I want the element that specifies this. For instance, let me show you what I mean by that. So we have the design, the logo here. Now we are going to create an element. You're going to create the element which you used, like something like this. You're still going to rotate it the same way you rotated the first one and place it at this edge. Then create another circle over here and place it at this edge. So we are going to select these two and make the color yellow or white. Let's make it yellow so we can have this differentiation of what we already have in the other end. So this is how I want you to present your design. Okay, it will be on a square, and The main design will be at this edge, and the icon which you created it with will be on this edge, just as we have in this. The main icon shouldn't be these ones, please. The main icon which you are going to separate shouldn't be these ones. The main icon is going to be this human head that is at this edge, this big head. You're going to separate it and put at the other edge, and then the main logo is going to be at the right. The main logo is going to be very, very large, like we have. I don't know why I'm wasting time scrolling, like we have here. So this is practically what I want, and then probably you can make a simple one beneath it, something like this. You can create another layer of rectangle at the edge. Okay, you can color that white or whatever color it could be. Fine. So this time around, this could be raised up a little, and this brand could be brought down, bring to the front, arrange, bring to the front, and you can now give it the name which it bears. So let's give this a name. So we call this distinct one, and to give this brand a kind of font that it works, we have to find a font that have rounded edges like we did in this one. So let me think about a font that I would like to use, like in Cineborg will make sense. In Cineborg, and this is cool, but I don't like it. Let's try Tommy, where is Tommy? Fine. Okay, Made Tommy is nice too. So let's use Made Tommy, and that works fine for me. See, let's lock this and select on this and center it. So this is your presentation module or presentation format. This will be centered, and the main logo and the logo with the name will be beneath. Then we can continue from that. So this is simply how to create negative space logo. Forgotten that. And it's very simple, as you guys can see, and I've shown you guys examples from the brands I created, and also show you examples from online. And we have also touched about the difference between these different brands, the ones that are real and the ones that are not real. Okay, now we're talking about real brands. So what you guys are going to create for me is real brands. We are not going to talk about, I'm not going to entertain any brand that is not looking like a real brand. So we are going to create this conference, our idea on creating brands that works, like brands that are going to work for real life businesses. Okay, so back to topic. Remember the name of this? I call this LS European short hair, and I said this originated from Sweden, and the name is given because of the domestic nature of this particular brand. This is a brand, not a class of animal. I see everything, or almost everything, as a brand, and that is how I love to see everything. So that is it, guys. Enjoy the rest of the day. I'll be waiting, and this project is very simple. The project is very simple. Just create any iconic brand with a negative space of your choice. I know when you copy it works, okay? And I know what you can do. Do your best. I will be the one to review. Don't worry about the review. I will review and will come out with the best. And gradually you grow, and you've seen what we've done in the past week. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure to comment if you have any question about this, especially about the cats, and make sure to subscribe if you are not subscribed at all. So share this to friends, share this to families. I'm enjoying doing this, and I'm happy to have you guys here. Enjoy the rest of the weeks as we meet in the group. Ciao.